UFC Vegas 91, Matheus Nicolau versus Alex Perez just ended, and this is going to be my full card post-fight. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you my reaction and breakdown. Starting off with the very first fight of the night, Hayisaer versus Gabriel Benítez. Hayisaer gets a split decision win. I don't hate the split decision. It was a competitive fight. Round one, Hayisaer, I felt like he landed the better punches, did more damage on the feet. Gabriel Benítez was kind of super kick heavy. Second round was kind of tricky to score because the second round, Benítez kind of came out hot, was doing very well for the first 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. But the last minute and a half, I really felt like Hayisaer started to put it on him and land better shots and was snapping his head back a bit. And then to end the round, he kind of stung him with the right hand, backed him up against the fence, threw a flying knee that partially landed. And then after the flying knee, threw a nasty elbow up against the fence that did land right at the end of the round. I think that really stole the round or sealed the round for Hayisaer. And then the third round, Gabriel Benítez was a little bit fresher, and he was really active that last minute and a half of the third round. It was a competitive round. And so I gave Gabriel Benítez the third round. So I had it 2-1 for Hayisaer. Basically, it was the kicks of Gabriel Benítez versus the hands of Hayisaer. And I just felt like Hayisaer had a power advantage. And I felt like Gabriel Benítez was just throwing some straight punches, and half the time they just weren't landing. He was just punching air. He had some, decent kicks, some good body kicks, some good leg kicks, but his hands, he wasn't really finding the mark with his hands. I mean, he had some success, but I felt like if he found a little bit more success with his hands, he probably could have won this fight. But overall, Hayisaer just outstruck him to a decision. I don't think there was any grappling in this fight, at least not that I remember. So Hayisaer gets it done via split decision. Moving up on the card, Ivana Petrović versus Liang. Early, Petrović gets a trip. Liang was actually doing okay early, landed some shots. Then Petrović got a takedown. Liang scrambled, almost took the back, but then Petrović almost gets an armbar. Kind of ends the round with Petrović looking for an armbar, belly down. She's kind of cramped up against the fence, so she wasn't able to get it. And she started throwing some body shots, trying to help, set up that armbar. And I scored Petrović round one. She did some damage. She was looking for some submission attempts. There wasn't a whole lot of damage from Liang. Second round, Liang was actually looking pretty good early. She was coming forward, landing good shots. Petrović striking looked absolutely god-awful. But then she initiates the clinch and gets taken down. It was a hilarious takedown where she just got dumped on her head. And then she begins to scramble, and eventually Petrović cements the position, finds the full mount. And the end of the round is Petrović just throwing down nasty elbows. If she would have been a little bit more active at the end, last 10 seconds, I think she could have got the stoppage. The ref was looking at it real close. And then the third round, Petrović, easy single leg, immediately gets in the full mount and then finds an arm triangle. And I know there's a name for it, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. It was more of the arm triangle that Brian Ortega got against Yair Rodriguez. But overall, I guess good performance from Petrović, but Liang just has garbage stamina. Her gas tank always runs out. She has good scramble. She has decent striking. She has decent wrestling even. But she has one round of cardio every time, and she fights like a, just crazy. She fights, I hate to even make this comparison, but she tries to come out and fight like a Yuri Prochazka, a low-level Yuri Prochazka, and she has one round of cardio. So it's not really recommended. And then she basically ends up getting dominated on the ground. We've seen it time and time again. I don't believe she's won a fight in the UFC. And she gets submitted in the third round. Moving up on the card, we have, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce this. I believe it's Llontop versus Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla comes on short notice, gets a first round rear naked choke. Great win for Chris Padilla. Got some early takedowns. Llontop was able to scramble back to his feet, was landing on the feet pretty well. And then basically at the end, or not really at the end, let's see what the stoppage was. Yeah, it was at the last minute of the round. I believe he got 2 takedowns up until that point. He wasn't necessarily, he wasn't winning on the feet, but he wasn't getting blown out on the feet by Llontop. And then the last minute of the round, goes for a takedown, gets Llontop down. I believe it was a single leg that he got him down with. And this was as Llontop is getting aggressive, gets single leg to the ground. It might have been a double leg. I don't remember. Tries to scramble up real quick, gives up his back, gives up the rear naked choke. I mean, from the takedown to the rear naked choke was 10 seconds. It's because he just sloppily tried to explode up and just gave up his neck. I mean, the transition for Padilla to move to the back and get the rear naked choke was lightning fast, but still at the same time, I know everything's happening quick, but you have to make a smarter decision in there. Okay, I might get taken down here. Let's not make any mistakes when there's only 30 seconds left, 40 seconds left. If I have to scramble back up, let me not just expose my back. We've seen this time and time again. I think we just recently saw it with Cody Garbrandt, where you have a guy with a really good jiu-jitsu on your back or has you on the ground controlling you. They attempt to scramble to get up at all costs, and they end up giving up their back. The exposure to the back cost them the fight. Chris Padilla with a late first round rear naked choke. Incredible performance. I don't know how good he is because Llontop coming from Dana White's Contender Series, so you don't really know how good he is either. There's a lot of frauds coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. But either way, to take it on short notice, make weight. I think Llontop missed weight. And to get it done in the first round, incredible win for Padilla. And he looked good. After he got the early takedown, he got the first takedown he got with ease, but Llontop immediately scrambled back up, and on the way up, landed a perfectly timed knee and a nasty elbow as well. And then they went back to the striking, and then eventually I think he found another takedown and scrambled up, and then found the last takedown and found the back and found the rear naked choke. Great win for Chris Padilla. Moving up on the card, we have Ketlen Souza versus Marnic Mann. Ketlen Souza gets it done via unanimous decision. This fight was infuriating to watch. Ketlen Souza was clearly the better fighter. Marnic Mann had some success with her grappling. And when I say success, I mean she found some takedowns. I feel like Ketlen Souza could have finished this fight multiple times. She had her up against the fence. I think it was in the third round. Just smashing her, ripping her to the body, ripping her upstairs, hurting her badly on the feet. And then she just grappled. Or in the second round, she was tagging her up against the fence. She got hit with one shot and then backed off. I felt like Ketlen Souza could have easily finished Marnic Mann. I feel like Marnic Mann versus any random chick off the street is a 50-50 fight. Maybe a 60-40 fight in favor of the person off the street. And Ketlen Souza, I believe, was a champion in like LFA or something along those lines. I don't remember. She was a champion. She was fighting in 5-round fights. She should have been way superior in this fight. She was superior in this fight and was absolutely boxing her up, ripping to her body, ripping upstairs, hurting her multiple times. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know. She just didn't want it. And then at the end, I think at the end of the third round, she got taken down by Mann Mann tried to get a takedown, ended up giving up mount immediately, which was just crazy. So Mann's that garbage, looks for a takedown, ends up getting mounted in the span of 5 seconds. But Souza dominated her from start to finish. And honestly, I'm disappointed in Souza's performance because I feel like she should have found a finish. Moving up on the card, Don'Tale Mayes versus Caio Machado. Talk about low-level heavyweight. I'm honestly getting tired of watching low-level heavyweight. I'm looking at these guys, and I'm being dead serious. I think I might have better cardio than them. I know people like to laugh and make, jokes. Oh, Joey, you're fat and this and that. I honestly feel like I have better cardio than Don'Tale Mayes. Okay? He hurt him early. He hurt Caio Machado early. I believe it was a right hand. And looked so unathletic trying to follow him to the ground looking for a finish. Then he didn't do any damage after he hurt him. Then he got back up and was like standing over Machado. Threw a leg kick to a grounded opponent and almost fell over. Stumbled back like 5 foot, 6 foot, 8 feet, something like that. Threw a leg kick. So he's hovering over Caio Machado. Throws a leg kick as Caio Machado's laying on his back. They're basically waiting for him to enter his guard. And Don'Tale Mayes, from throwing a leg kick, stumbled backwards like 8 feet. The most unathletic I've ever seen. He should have found the finish there. He hurt him badly. Then the second and third round were just a matter of Machado's volume versus Mayes' power. I felt like you could have gave 2 or 3 either way, really. I didn't really score it. Honestly, I was so disgusted with both of their performances. I thought second round, maybe Mayes got outstruck. I don't know, I don't look at the stats anyway, but I feel like Machado definitely landed more, but I think Mayes landed more powerful punches, and you could just see there was a power advantage. And then, I kind of scored it for him, but they were both super sloppy. Machado was throwing a lot of volume, but not landing a whole lot. And then the third round was just hideous and ugly. And so I don't care. I know some people were saying for Machado, I thought it could have went either way. It was a horrible fight. Both are super low level. Cut them from the organization. Moving up on the card, we have Austen Hubbard versus Michal Figlak. I'm telling you guys, these Cage Warrior guys are always overhyped. I seen people saying robbery. I don't think it was a robbery. First round, both were landing right hands. Hubbard had a takedown, but did nothing with it. I thought the first round was 50-50. I thought it could have went either way, honestly. I really didn't. This fight overall was a draw to me. If I had to score it, even though I couldn't really, I guess I would have to, I think you'd score 10-10 rounds. First round was basically a draw to me. Second round, I felt like Figlak, definitely got outstruck in the second round. He was landing some left hands. He was stuffing the takedowns of Hubbard, but Hubbard was popping the jab late in the round, snapping Figlak's head back, and it was literally like nonstop for the last 2 minutes, and I thought that was more damaging than what Figlak did. And I scored the second round for Hubbard. First round again was 50-50. And then the third round was another close round. And I believe Hubbard got a takedown somewhere in the middle of the round, but didn't do any damage with it, or maybe landed a couple shots, but nothing really. And then the end of the round, Figlak looked for a takedown, kind of had his back, got him down to a knee, had a little bit of control, but didn't do much damage either. So honestly, I think all 3 rounds could have went either way. So Austen Hubbard gets it done. Maybe I have to watch this fight a little bit closer because I was setting up my stream when this was happening, but I was pretty much paying attention. I just felt like it was an even fight. Figlak I thought his hands were much better. I thought Figlak's hands were much better. They weren't. Hubbard seemed to have the better gas tank. Figlak was able to stuff the takedowns, but overall, Austen Hubbard didn't need the grappling to win this fight. So Austen Hubbard gets it done. I think it was a unanimous decision. Yeah, it was a unanimous decision. I don't have a problem with the decision. Moving up on the card to the featured prelim, we have Victor Henry versus Rani Yahya. Victor Henry gets it done via third round TKO. First round was Rani Yahya looking for takedowns, throwing a lot of kicks, getting stuffed. Henry was just landing the better shots. Second round, Henry was really starting to find his groove and land some good shots and was hurting him to the body. There was a low shot, similar to the Jamal Hill shot, and then they kind of touched gloves. He kind of made sure Yahya was okay for a second, and then immediately started going. The attack started landing. Right hands hurt him, went to the ground, was looking for finish, but was unable to find it. Yahya makes it to the third round. And then Yahya, throughout this fight, and in the third round in particular, was landing a couple good right hands. And then he looked for the takedown. He pulled guard. Henry, got out of that. I believe landed some shots and then got back to his feet. And then when he got back to the feet, Henry hurt him, followed him to the ground, started landing nasty elbows, but couldn't find the finish. Then gets back up, kind of disengages, lands a head kick as they get back. Well, not right as they get back up. There was a little bit of time in between there. Lands a head kick and then swarmed him up against the fence for a standing TKO. What does this really mean? I don't know. Victor Henry faked his way out of a Bashrat fight. Rani Yahya is like 75 years old and probably shouldn't be fighting anymore. So I don't know what to say about this fight. But overall, it was a decent, fun fight. It was Rani Yahya just trying to spam takedowns. And once Victor Henry really got confidence stuffing the takedowns in the second and third round, he really started to find his groove and land combinations. And eventually, basically, it was the head kick that was the reason he found the finish, and it was a standing TKO. So it didn't even put Rani Yahya out. But overall, Victor Henry gets it done. Third round TKO. Moving up on the card, we have Tim Means versus Uros Medic. Nasty, nasty first round uppercut KO from Uros Medic. Basically striking for the majority of the fight. Means was looking for clinch and looking for takedowns for the first couple minutes. Medic was landing some jabs, and then boom. Medic just lands a nasty uppercut. I think it was a left-hand uppercut. Just lands perfectly on the chin of Tim Means and basically puts him away. So, good win for Medic. I feel like this is a performance he had to have here. And Tim Means is just, 33-16 overall. But overall, probably the nastiest finish on the card I'm thinking right now. No, probably not the nastiest finish on the card, but close. Very, very close. Uros Medic puts the dirty bird out of his misery in the first round, 2 minutes into the first round, with a nasty uppercut. Uros Medic, I'd like to see him, I'm trying to think of a matchup for him right now, but I'd like to see him against another striker. All finishes, super exciting. Tim Means wasn't, that big of a challenge, really, so I feel like Tim Means is kind of on his way out, but Tim Means just kind of looked to grapple, wasn't able to find it, and then gets tagged on the feet and finished. So good win for Uros Medic. Moving up on the card, David Onama versus Jonathan Pearce. David Onama gets it done via decision, which I'm actually shocked in. I picked Onama, but I thought he would get a finish. Onama was touching him up in the first round, switching stances, tagging him, got taken down, gave up his back in the first round, but scrambles right out, just turns back into him. Ends up getting taken down again. There's multiple scrambles where he's given his back, but then he ends up on top. And I had Onama win in the first round. He scrambled out of bad positions. He was landing way better shots on the feet. Second round, similar to the first round, but this time Pearce got some top control because Onama would scramble out. He would turn into him. He would give up his back. He would get taken down, give up his back, turn into him, but then try to grapple and try to get top position and try to do some damage or try to take Jonathan Pearce's back. And then would end up on bottom, end up getting shook off the top, end up getting reversed, and basically spent a lot of time on bottom in the second round. So I had Jonathan Pearce win the second round because he was actually doing some ground and pound too. He was letting loose, had the body triangle multiple times, was looking for chokes multiple times, and Onama really didn't get to do much on the feet. But then the third round, Onama came out and fought a perfect third round, was really careful, stuffing the takedowns, being more conservative on the feet. He was still touching him up on the feet. He hurt Pearce in the third round, looked for a finish for a little bit, wasn't able to find it. And then you had a late takedown from Pearce. Onama scrambled out, ends up getting back up immediately instead of trying to stay down there. So he knew, okay, I lost the second round, I won the first, I need this third round. And then the last 30 seconds of this fight was crazy. They decided to pull a Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje fifth round. And they just started slugging it out. Not a whole lot of shots landed. There was a head clash from Onama, but nobody really got hurt. I thought Onama obviously clearly won the third round. There's no debate in that. So yeah, I had 1 and 3 for Onama, which I think is the general consensus. I wouldn't imagine anybody would have another scorecard other than that. And good win for Onama. I was worried that in that second round when he's making mistakes, low fight IQ by continuing to end up on the ground, even though he'd get up on top, could disengage, but then he would end up back on bottom again, giving up his back repeatedly. And as he's exploding out of these positions, I'm like, oh, he's going to gas out. He's going to get tired, and he's going to end up losing this fight. But third round came out more composed. He must have realized, okay, I can't end up in those positions again in the third round. I need this round. And he did exactly what he needed to do in the third round. And overall, David Onama looked really, really good. I think he's going to struggle against some really good grapplers. Like, I know he's not even in the position to fight a guy like Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling would have finished David Onama. Yeah, he would have. I mean, so luckily there's not a lot of crazy, like, dominant grapplers at featherweight. But if he gets in the top 15, I mean, or even really, I mean, top 10, definitely. I mean, you're thinking like Brian Ortega, Aljamain Sterling, you know, even a guy like Ilia Topuria. I know he's nowhere close to that, but I'm saying if he fights these high-level guys, he's going to get exposed badly because they're not going to give up the position similar to the way Jonathan Pearce gave up the position. So David Onama gets it done. I think it was a good performance overall. Moving up on the card, we have Jhonata Diniz versus Austen Lane. Austen Lane took him down early, easy, tackled him down, dominant top control. Diniz has closed guard. Last 20 seconds, Lane works in a full mount, just starts slamming down elbows, beating him up. Literally, you could have gave the first round potentially a 10-8 for Lane. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm liking my Lane pick. I thought he was more athletic. I think a lot of these guys come off Dana White's Contender Series. They're a bit of a fraud. Second round, Lane's literally gassed early, shooting ugly takedowns where he's not even really changing his level. He's just kind of running into his chest. And the takedowns are super labored. And I remember DC mentioning on commentary, there's 3 minutes left in the round, 3.5 minutes left in the round, and Lane's staring over at the clock. How are you that exhausted from dominating a guy for the first 5 minutes on top, and you didn't even do crazy damage to the last 30 seconds? I don't get it. And then once he starts getting shucked off, Diniz is just stuffing takedowns like his life depends on it. Just starts tagging him up with hooks. Both guys are landing, but Diniz clearly has the power advantage. And then boom, a couple hooks land and absolutely wreck Austen Lane. Falls face down, ass up, literally in a doggy style position, but then he eventually kind of goes all the way down flat. Absolutely destroyed with a nasty shot. I can't remember if it was a left hook or right hook. I want to say it was a left hook, but it was a brutal KO. I mean, Diniz put him out cold. It was bad. And for a second, I thought he might have pulled a Court McGee, but I do think he was out. The way he fell was like embarrassing. I mean, if I felt like Austen Lane, the way Austen Lane fell, I'd be going into witness protection Colby Covington style. I'd change my name. I'd grow out a mustache and just have a mustache. I'd wear a wig. I'd literally leave my entire family like Michael Chandler did in January. It was a bad KO for Lane. And Lane, this just shows how shit heavyweight is. I liked Lane because he was athletic. You don't have more than 5 minutes of cardio. What are these guys doing in their training camps? I know people are going to, again, laugh. How could you say that about an athlete? What are these guys doing during their training camps? Somebody check the locker room. Did Austen Lane have Taco Bell before his fight like Tatu Avasa? That's what I want to know. So Diniz gets it done. Second round KO. Brutal second round KO. Moving up on the card, we have Karine Silva versus Ariane Lipski. Basically, Karine Silva just out-grappled her. Third round, Lipski was landing on the feet and was able to stuff some of the takedowns and, got taken down late and gave up her back, but I thought she did more damage. I had Lipski the third round, but outside of that, first and second round, basically they were clinching up and Silva was getting better of her in the clinch and getting her down and getting some control time. Lipski was defending the back for the most part, was getting up somewhat. Second round, she ate some nasty elbows from Karine Silva. But overall, this fight was kind of, it was boring. This is the type of fight that people shit on when it comes to women's MMA. But, I think overall, Lipski has definitely been improving. And I thought she could win this fight, even though I picked Karine Silva. But Karine Silva was basically getting her down, getting in the half guard, and starting to set up a choke where she was hoping Lipski would try to get to her knees, and then she was going to try to set up a guillotine because that's her favorite submission move. And she just wasn't able to find it. Lipski was doing good. When Karine Silva would try to take her back and get a second hook in, Lipski was blocking it very, very well. I think she only got it one time, and I think that was in the third round, the last 30 seconds or so. But Lipski looked better on the feet. Karine Silva, you could tell she had a step up in competition tonight. She's been blowing through the competition. You could tell Ariane Lipski was a significant step up for her. And while she passed the test and she won via unanimous decision, you could still tell there is definitely some deficiencies there. And in the third round, she looked pretty gassed. She wasn't as gassed as some of these low-level shit heavyweights, but she was looking pretty gassed in the third round. But overall, she gets it done. She wins the first 2 rounds. You could make an argument for her winning the third round. I just wouldn't make it. She really did no damage. Lipski was landing on the feet decently well, landed some decent kicks as well. But overall, Karine Silva gets it done. Moving up on the card to the co-main event, Ryan Spann versus Bogdan Guskov. Herb Dean did an absolute shit job reffing this fight. Bogdan Guskov gets a win via second round KO. Filthy KO. Late stoppage. Terribly late stoppage. But let's talk about the first round, because Herb Dean is a horrible referee. At this point, I'm tempted to switch my take and take Jamal Hill's side. That's how bad Herb was reffing tonight. So Spann clinches up with him early. Spann's clearly the bigger fighter. Knees him to the groin horribly. Herb Dean breaks him. And then after Bogdan recovers, he's like, okay, get back, same position. Wait a second, he just got fouled. Why are you putting him back in the clinch? The second Herb Dean puts him back in the clinch, Ryan Spann knees him immediately to the cup again. And these are hard knees. Immediately, like we're talking within a span of like 5 seconds, 10 seconds max to the second knee to the cup. As soon as he puts him back in the position. Herb breaks him again. And I was going to lose my shit if he put him back in the same position. He does not put him back in the same position. But he doesn't take a point either. You have to take a point at that point. 2 cup shots within the span of 30 seconds, hard knees as well. It's not like a shot that was kind of blocked and the toes graze. But basically, then after that, Spann got a takedown, had some control, didn't really do a whole lot of damage, had the back at one point, was flattening him out with a neck crank, but didn't do a whole lot of ground and pound damage. And I knew after that first round, I'm like, I wonder how this cardio is going to hold up, because neither guy is known for their cardio. But I told you guys in my prediction video, I said I'm never picking Ryan Spann again. He's going life and death with the dead corpse of Anthony Smith, who's doing spinneroonies, breakdancing in his free time. So I didn't pick him. Second round, they're both looking gassed. Bogdan's arms are really low, but Spann's just plotting, looking slow as hell. And basically, Spann's throwing like one shot for every couple shots Bogdan throws. And mainly it's like a big whiffing left hand or a big right hand. At one point, he landed a big right hand in the second round that honestly looked like it lands so clean, but Bogdan just ate it. Just literally ate it like it was nothing. Then he starts lighting up Spann, hurts him badly, starts looking for the finish, but somehow Spann survives, was landing good shots, but he was dangerous, man. He was in the pocket just slinging at his chin straight up in the air. And then Spann survives, but then the second time he rocks him, smashes him with a nasty uppercut, drops him, follows him to the ground. I'm like, oh no. He starts like look like he's looking for a guillotine for a second, and then just starts throwing the filthiest ground and pound, KOs him with ground and pound over and over and over. There was probably 10, I would say 8 to 12 unanswered shots on the ground, and they were landing flush on the chin of Ryan Spann. After 2, you could have stopped it. Herb Dean just sat there like he was Keith Peterson smoking a cigarette. Like, oh yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens here. And Bogdan's just smashed him. And clearly Ryan Spann's out cold. And his head's flat against the mat. And he's just taking huge, powerful ground and pound shots. And Herb finally steps in after like 8 or 10 of them. But nasty win for Bogdan Guskov. He said, stop calling me Lionheart. I'm not Lionheart. I'm not a dead body. He didn't say that part. But I feel like Anthony Smith, you got to match up him and Bogdan Guskov next. Especially if Anthony Smith loses next week against Vitor Petrino, or even if he wins. Screw it, match him up. Bogdan's going to be ranked now. I like Bogdan Guskov. Fun fighter, nasty power. Ryan Spann is an absolute scrub. If you picked him, you should be ashamed of yourself. So Bogdan gets it done. Fun fighter to watch. Nasty power, brawler. puts himself at a lot of risk. So I don't know his career longevity, but overall, fun fighter to watch. Did get exposed a little bit with the grappling, but Ryan Spann was much bigger than him. So I don't blame him for not being able to get up in the first round. Moving up on the card to the main event, Matheus Nicolau versus Alex Perez. Alex Perez, second round KO. Slumped him out cold with a nasty right hand. It was similar to the Ilia Topuria versus Alexander Volkanovski fight. Matheus Nicolau doesn't fight. I honestly am really starting to hate this dude. I'm really starting, not hate him, but I'm hating watching him. First, like 3 minutes of the first round, he didn't even throw any shots. Perez is rushing forward, throwing body shots, combinations, coming over the top with the right hand. Then towards like the end was like Nicolau was finally starting to throw back, but Perez clearly won the first round. Then in the second round, they were trading some leg kicks. Nicolau was starting to have some success, but that didn't last for long. I mean, let's see when the stoppage actually was. Yeah, it was 2 minutes and 16 seconds into the second round. So the success wasn't, prolonged for Nicolau, and Perez backs him up against the fence, throwing some combinations. Boom, hit him with a right hand, and you have you have Nicolau basically doing a split up against the fence. He could have smashed him with an uppercut like Yo Romero, Luke Rockhold style, but he didn't. He just waited. The referee jumped in. It was a good stoppage. I mean, he was out cold. But how crazy is that? Perez gets his first win in, since 2020, I think it was? So you got to feel good for him. At least he gets a win here. But Nicolau, it's just, I think there's multiple things that did him dirty in this fight. One, his lack of activity. So, like, Perez had no respect for him at all. But also, the smaller cage at the apex. I think the larger cage, Nicolau likes to circle around and circle out. He got trapped up against that fence and ate a nasty right hook from Perez. Larger cage, maybe that doesn't happen. I'm not saying it definitely doesn't, but maybe it doesn't happen. So, his footwork failed him here. He got backed up against the fence. You see a lot of guys trap guys up against the fence because now they can only go left or right. They can't go backwards. They can't get out of the range. So the guy who's in the center always going to have the advantage with distance management because he can always find where you're at in terms of depth overall. And Perez was able to back him up, was putting the pressure on him all night, was ripping to the body, then coming upstairs and lands a picture-perfect right hand and slumps Nicolau out cold. Very, very similar to Volkanovski versus Topuria. So there's the recap of UFC Vegas 91. Do me a favor, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. We're about to hit 20K. For all I know, we might have hit 20K while I'm recording this video. We're like, I think 5, 10 away, something like that. Maybe even less at this point. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.